Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing, and my prayers and condolences to the families of those who were killed and injured in this event. Mr. McKay, I was curious about the choice of dispersant Corexit 9500, which is manufactured by a company called Nalco Holding Company, on which a former 11-year board member of BP sits on the Nalco board. Do you know approximately how much money BP has paid so far to Nalco for this dispersant?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Could you get the committee that information, please?
We can get that.
Why do you think Corexit would have been chosen over, as Mr. Nadler said, a less toxic and more effective product like Dispersit, for instance, which you would think would be a better choice? And did BP talk to, did your company talk to any other manufacturers of the other dispersants to find out if they were available?
I've not been personally involved in the choices around the dispersants and what's happened in terms of talking to companies and understanding the availability, the effectiveness, or the choices that have made. We can get you some information on that. I've just not been involved in that.
My understanding is that the company that manufactures Dispersit, just for one out of the list of 13 approved dispersants, says they could quickly produce 60,000 gallons per day, which is more than is currently being used by BP for this spill, as I understand it. So that would be a good conversation to have. After Exxon Valdez, the dispersants were found to concentrate in the organs of certain fish and other marine life, and I assume they would do the same thing in the organs of human beings who consumed those fish. As a condition for the subsurface application of Corexit, EPA directed BP to implement a monitoring plan on the plume, including measuring the toxic effects of the mixture of dispersed oil and Corexit. What are the results of this monitoring? Are those results posted somewhere and available to the public?
The monitoring is ongoing, and I believe it's being worked through Unified Command. I don't know how much of that has been posted or is public, but we can certainly get back to you on when it's expected to be and what, as the results are tabulated. But there's constant monitoring going on under the direction of Unified Command and with the relevant government agencies.
Thank you. I'd appreciate a written response to that. And the directive also orders BP to, quote, detect and delineate the plume, unquote. Is BP doing this?
Again, with assistance from the government agencies involved with the monitoring and the sampling programs under Unified Command or within Unified Command, I believe that is going on.
Could you please inform the committee in writing of the nature and extent of all subsurface plumes? And do you know whether the dispersant or dispersants you are using are harmful to human health, whether they tend to bioaccumulate, or are they known carcinogens?
I don't know offhand. We will get that back to the committee.
Are you prepared to assume liability for the human health effects, not just of the oil that's spilled, but also the dispersants as well?
We've said we will honor all legitimate claims related to the impacts of this spill.
Do you know, or Mr. Newman, do you know what the blowout preventer cost for the Macondo site?
I don't know what we paid for it back in 99 or 2000 when we bought it.
What's a typical ballpark figure for the collection of redundant blowout preventer devices?
I believe if we went out and bought one today, I think it would cost in the range of $15 million.
Mr. McKay, do you know approximately what the annual advertising cost was for BP for that nice unfolding flower on TV and the Beyond Petroleum slogan to be broadcast into living rooms around the country?
No, I know roughly. I don't know exactly. Last year was about $10 to $12 million, and this year is probably 20, something like that. I don't know. I can get the numbers for you.
So it's roughly probably about the same or maybe a little more than the cost of a blowout preventer. I assume that BP is deducting the cost of this image advertising, which does not actually talk about your product, but just as sort of a feel-good image ad from the costs of doing business for tax purposes. Do you know if that's correct?
I don't know the tax treatment of that. I presume that is that's an expense and treated as such.
Well, that's an expense that I question the validity of. It may be legal at the moment, but if one is merely advertising what appears to be, we're nice guys, we're good to the environment, please don't regulate us, which is the way some of us might perceive that, I would suggest that, Mr. Chairman, we might in the future, or somebody, this Congress might look at it. My time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.